Okay, well, there's a few changes this week. The big Talbot, as I suggested a week or two back, that's actually gone off to its new home. The new owner's going to continue with the preservation and resurrection of it, and yeah, it sounds like it's in good hands. So, the next thing is, what's going to replace it? Well, today is going to be a new arrival. Now, as I said in a previous video, I'm trying to alter things a little bit to move away from several vehicles that need full restorations to slightly fewer vehicles that I can actually use. So the car that's being delivered in a couple of hours time is part of that plan. So let's wait and see if it turns up. Right, so what could the mystery new car be? I've just brought it out for a quick spin. A couple of clues: it's very original, very small engine, less than 1 litre, very slow, mass produced back in its day. But what car is it? Well, it is this, the 1952 Ford Anglia E494A. Regulars to the old classic car YouTube channel will recognise this from a video that I posted a few weeks ago. It belonged to a friend of mine, and he's decided he's reducing the size of his collection slightly and he's downsizing, so something had to give, and he decided to let the little Anglia go. Now, as I mentioned before and in the other video, the idea is to get rid of a few projects and replace them with vehicles that actually work. So the big Talbot has gone, reluctantly, but to a good home, and I've replaced it with this, which is a very different car in many ways, but the one thing they do have in common is they're both super original. They haven't been got at. They're not full of pop riveted on plates or filler, they're just as they were, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So this has now joined the fleet, and hopefully it'll prove to be a reliable little run around for local jaunts, shows and so on. So obviously I need to sort of go through it all and just check things a bit. The tyres need pumping up. It was only dropped off this afternoon, so it's really just a few exploratory journeys just to get a feel for it and see what needs doing, what doesn't need doing, and so on. But it's such an original little car that when he mentioned that he was thinking of parting with it and I was thinking of letting the Talbot go, it just seemed the logical thing to do, really. I've had Fords before. I used to run a little pickup truck, so I am a little bit familiar with these, so it's not entirely unknown territory. I've still got a few spares left which should fit it, which is all jolly good. Still on its original registration, fortunately, and the original plates, the nice old Ace number plates. So yeah, so this is the new edition that arrived only this afternoon, and all being well, we should have a lot of fun with it. Okay, well, it's day one with the Anglia, and what have we achieved today? I've checked the oil, I've checked the gearbox, which there's a dipstick under here. If you lift the carpet up, there's a little dipstick which is marked, and that seems to be fully up to the level, which I expected, but I just thought I'd check anyway. And I've checked the front kingpins for wear. There's a tiny amount of play, but nothing worth worrying about. And while it was jacked up, I also adjusted the steering box, which is down there, and the adjustment is here. The square is the adjuster, so you're slacking off this lock nut with one spanner while you keep another spanner on there, and then you just adjust that to take up a little bit of the slack. I've not taken it all out, because if you try and take it all out, the steering stiffens up and it prematurely wears the steering box, but you can take a little bit of it out without any problem. So that's that. And just generally cleaning up a little bit. It's tomorrow's drive it day. I also fitted this AA badge, A, because I'm a member of the AA, and B, it looks the part. It's the scruffiest one I could find, complete with the original mounting screws and the little brackets on the back. So it looks like it's always been there. So I don't think anyone will be too upset about fitting that on there. Yeah, she's looking alright. I took it out for a bit of a run yesterday evening. Put a few bits and bobs inside. An RAC handbook for 1953. Some bits and bobs in the back seat. And a detachable car snack tray is on the rear shelf now. Which is all very in keeping for 1950s motoring, I think. So, just carry on pottering away. What I would like to do is try and build up as much of an original toolkit as possible. Now, the spanners in the 1950s were stamped up as Enfo. Earlier, they were stamped up as Ford. And in here, I'll have a route through and just see what I can find. I mean, this old adjustable spanner here is marked Ford, but this is probably more Model T era rather than 50s English side valve Ford. Same with that one, which is very similar. So at a push we can put those in, but if anyone can add comments below the video just describing what some of the other spanners might look like, that'd be great. Like I say, I know there are some Enfo spanners in here. There's another Ford, but that will probably be Model T or Model A or Model B era. It's a bit too early for this, so I'll carry on having a route through here, see what Enfo spanners I can find. So there's another very small Ford one. See what I can find in here. Actually, there's one. There's two actually. 01A 17015. I know that's correct for a Ford Pop. So I remember reading it in the, I think it was in the parts list, it does list some of the part numbers. There's another one. 7015. 7015. I know 16 is another spanner that's in the set, but if anyone could tell me what other adjustable spanners or what the grease gun looked like, the factory grease gun, that would be great. It'd be nice just to build up a little collection of the correct tools to go in there. So I'll put these to one side and pick out the cleanest ones that I can find, and then see what I'm left with and see what I'm looking for. I don't think it would have ever come with one of these somehow. Right, let's carry on. Okay, I've had a route for some Enfo spanners. I found some later ones which were Imperial, and I found some much earlier ones which just had a Ford script, but I think the Anglia of the 1950s would have had Enfo stamped tools. So I've picked one of these, which is 01A 17015. That's an Enfo spanner, as hopefully the camera will pick up, so that can go in it. And I found two styles of 01A 17016, one of which says Enfo and the other doesn't, but they're clearly both Ford, so they can go in the new toolkit. There's a set of pliers with the Enfo script on, made in England, and just the one of these I found, which is an adjustable spanner or wrench, J7F, don't know what that means, but it has the all-important Enfo, Enfo being English Ford, so that's a nice find. I didn't know I had that, so that can go with those. And finally I found this miniature set of feeler gauges. Now it might be really hard to pick this out, but very faintly along here it says Enfo. I'm not sure if we can pick this up, but I'll try and hopefully that just about shows. So I didn't know I had those either. So that's my initial go at building up a set of spanners for it. I know it would have had a grease gun, so if someone could tell me a little bit more about what style of grease gun it would have had, would it have just been a standard Takalamic grease gun with nothing marked on it, no info markings on it, then I'd be interested to know, please. So yeah, that's a nice little start to the toolkit collection anyway. Everything's stamped info and everything pretty much right for the Anglia, so that's good news. I think I'll be using this tin to house the info spanners, the Crawford tartan shortbread. I'm guessing this must be very 1950s looking at it. It'll certainly look the part on the glove shelf anyway. Nothing on there, there's no date or anything, but that has to be, that must be 1950s surely. So they can go in there. I'll put an old rag in there just to stop them rattling around, but that's a nice start to the collection of spanners. Popped over to see Mum and Dad. He's got his Moggy Traveller out. So well, if that wasn't enough excitement for one day, this arrived in the post today, which I'm hoping is a relatively usable A40 boot lid. Now, anyone who's watched any of the older videos will know that the A40 has been an ongoing project for many years. It's been in the family from new, 1960, so that's 61 years it's been in the family. So let's see if I can get this open without major injury, which is never guaranteed, as you'll have noticed. Let's try and get this open. It's all well packaged. What I'm hoping to find is a slightly tatty but basically sound Mark 1 A40 boot lid, a saloon boot lid, because the Countryman was different altogether. So I'm hoping that this will do either to donate repair sections along the bottom which are rotted out on my original boot lid, or to use in its entirety. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm starting to see things. There we go. One Austin A40 boot lid, and mine is rotted away all the way around here. It's in a very bad way. This side's not so bad for some reason, but this side is very poor. The frame's rotted, the skin's rotted, and so on. As you can see, this is drilled for badges down here, but the Mark 1 should have the badges up there. But that is a Mark 1 boot lid handle rather than a Mark 2. But it doesn't really matter because the panel is basically the same, apart from the position of the badging. It's had a horizontal number plate on it. But let's turn it over, because this is the important side. And there we go. It has steel, there is metal here, where on my original boot lid there is fresh air. And this has all gone here on mine. But this is pretty good. Just wants a bit of a clean up. So I'll just have to decide whether to use the whole panel in its entirety. I'll just use parts of it to fix my original boot lid. In some ways I'd rather keep my original boot lid than just use pieces off this. But on the other hand, a lot of people will say you're just making work for yourself and you can just put this on strip all the paint off. I mean, there's a bit of rot there, which I knew about. It's had a very thick paint job at some point. But I think stripped of paint, it's actually quite a good panel, and certainly compared to most second-hand bootlids I've seen, it's a pretty good starting point. So I've been after a decent bootlid for a long time, so I think that's a reasonable result all in. That's nice and easy to fix. But down here, where it's double skinned, where the frame and the skin wrap together, down here, it would have been a very different, tricky repair. So I'm hoping this will get me out of trouble, so I can go with the A40 stuff, I think. Anyway, I just thought I'd do a quick reveal there as I opened it, and that's that. So time to go in, I think.